I'm a firm believer that if you find a good hairdresser, you better stick with that hairdresser. And about 2 decades ago, I found him in this high-end salon. Now, not that I could afford a high-end salon. I'm a dancer / choreographer. So I had to get a day job at the high-end salon. Now, this was down in Knoxville, Tennessee, and that is where I met Matt. He was a hairdresser there, and one day he comes up to me and he asked me for a ride home. Well, of course, I said I'd give him a ride home, so I give him a ride home, and we started talking, and we became fast friends. Well, I started working at the salon, and Matt started cutting and coloring my hair. I'd been coloring my hair since the 80s as a fashion statement. Well, eventually in my career, I'm happy to say, she started to blossom. I didn't need to work at the high-end salon anymore. I was working for a little dance company. But I still wanted to see Matt. So me and him got to talking, and we created Monday Nights with Matt and Mark. It's true what they say. Therapy's expensive. So get yourself a really good hairdresser instead. Professional dancer Mark Young meets Matt, a hairdresser, and together they share memories of loss, love, and what it means to wear too much hairspray, and together share laughter that only one can obtain from just a simple haircut. Monday Nights with Matt and Mark by Mark Young. Basically, he cooked some super nice dinner, and I'd bring over a box dessert, and we'd get to talking, and we became fast friends even more. Oh, we would just talk for hours, and it was almost sacred. Well, eventually in our career, I was moving to New York City, and so I called Matt up to have one of our Monday nights with Matt and Mark, and well, he told me he didn't feel well. And I'm like, damn it. Okay, so we'll just reschedule to the next week. So we reschedule until the next week, and well, he still had a cough. And then the next week I had my show, so we decided we were just going to postpone Mondays with Matt and Mark until the show was over. Well, the morning of opening night, I knew something was wrong. You know when something's wrong? Well, I knew something was wrong. And so I got up and I sat straight up in bed, and I ran over to his house, and I find him on his couch, and he's as burgundy as the fabric on it, and he's struggling for air, and thus begins the many months of Matt in the hospital. Now, there's something you got to know about Matt. He's ornery. Okay, let me give you an example. So, of course, I still had to get my hair cut, but Matt was in the hospital, so somebody else took my hair. And so I walk into the hospital, and his eyes got really wide, but he still couldn't talk because of the pneumonia. So he gets me a chalkboard, and he writes out in really awful handwriting, "Who cut your hair?" And after responding, he wrote very plainly, "Well, it looks like shit." Shit. It was that kind of spirit that kept Matt alive, you know? And it made me think almost maybe Matt was going to finally get better. So I went back to New York. And like I told you before, if you find a good hairdresser, damn it, you better stick with that hairdresser. So I did. He calls me up one day and he tells me to fly back to Knoxville to cut my hair. And so hell yeah, I'll fly back to Knoxville to him to cut my hair. So he sits me down in his office and he puts his hands on my shoulders, really firm. And he whispers in my ear, he says, "It's time, honey." I'm like, what the hell does that mean? And he told me it was time I needed to go find a new hairdresser. And I'm like, well, that's just not going to work, you know? I can't be walking around these streets looking like some old gray queen. And he looked at me and I knew that this was a goodbye. So I went back to New York with a full head of gray hair. And I'm walking down the street, and this gaggle of gays, they walk by me, and one of them looks at me, and he says, "Oh, you look like a silver fox." And my bruised ego was healed instantaneously. Because I knew. Matt was right.